But guys. Yopaj Invoker though!
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Hype it up for us, Sheep. Tell
Hell
us why
yeah.
you're so excited for
I
it.
mean, the dude's sick at Invoker. I feel like we watched him play so much Ember and stuff last patch. It's really nice to see him like move into Invoker here.
No
Like
more Ember.
really like his Invoker, like his Puck, like his Wind Ranger. These heroes are like a little bit more shy in his games. But yeah, like oh gosh, what a hype game. And they have pretty nice like hero lineup right now. I'm still not sure if they want this Gyro to be carry or not, but Monkey is a really good hero at setting up for IO. You can, because you scout and get vision right, and then you can start with the what is it, pupil boundless strike? Is that it? Or is
Yeah,
that
the stun.
yeah,
Boundless strike,
the
yeah.
stun, and then like it sets up
5
into like you're
seconds
relocating in, and you start this whole fight, and it's like really nice synergy together. Invoker is a hero that when you go Quaswex, at least you're able to move around a lot on the map with Ghost Walk, and you are like a fast tempo fighter. With you get like Urn and stuff. Obviously, they would like to do that against Medusa. So it looks like their tempo right now is much faster to try and outpace Medusa. That looks like what they're trying to do.
And his Invoker, I was looking up some numbers. It's not really up there as one of his most played, like not in his top 10 most picks for competitive Dota, but he has played it 40 times and has won 80% of those games.
Oh my
What?
So you know, I'm like, okay, he's not a big Invoker player. And that's the 1%. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, he's an Invoker player.
That's insane. The odds of showing their favorite's not even funny.
Yeah. I mean, the hero's been kind of out of meta, at least compared to what it was like 5 years ago when Yopaj wasn't like, playing much tier 1 Dota, so.
Yeah, I think it was because before I covered C in the first season, I was talking like a lot with John and Ponlo and stuff, and like trying to get reads on C, and like I think it was Ponlo that hyped up his Ember Spirit and his Quaswex Invoker to me. He said these are so sick on this guy. I mean, it's like he has a whole laundry list of heroes, right? You think back to was it the Singapore Major? Yeah, Singapore Major. That was when he was like amazing on Wind Ranger, Puck, and Void Spirit every game. But then you have his Invoker too, and now since all the DPC, you have his Snapfire and blah blah blah. And honestly, I could just praise this dude all day.
Hey, he's facing off against the
stop.
week 1 MVP. Okay.
Ooh, that's true.
Mac is no slouch.
Yeah, I mean, so Lelouch, I'm excited to see him play stuff that's not Pango. I mean, his Pango was amazing, but like I would like to see how he rates on other heroes, especially against Boom. I talk a lot up on Yopaj, but I think Lelouch was easily the MVP of his last 2 series. So seeing how he plays in the mid lane is going to be extremely exciting.
How do you like Polaris' rounded out draft now? Do you think they have everything that they need to, execute properly and actually really contend Boom for this game?
I like it. I think it's solid. I think this Venge pick is really nice against what... they have some question marks. Is Gyro the carry? Is Monkey? I don't think they know exactly. One of those heroes could be an offlaner. But just Venge gives you this way to address the Wukong's command. You can always swap Monkey out of it to cancel. So, carry Monkey suddenly not looking as good. I think carry Gyro, like, you can swap, break the tether, pull Gyro out of position. Medusa just as a carry, I think naturally matches up pretty well against carry Gyro as well. So I feel like they've got some good tools here. Assuming they don't get ran over, because it's still a Medusa draft. It's still this team that's going to take a bit longer to come online. What the Venge does do also really well is stack. They always have that, I assume, 4 position with the Sand King that can just stack camps and basically set the Medusa up to free farm away. Yeah,
I love this lineup. I think it's awesome. Venge is going to stack so much for Medusa. They have really nice fighting with DP and Sand King and Void Spirit. Like they can, like if they get invaded or something, they can fight. Their heroes are strong, very synergetic. Venge, Medusa, tails all the time. It's great.
I loved hearing your thoughts on this draft, but I want to bring in Mike and John for their thoughts and see which way they're potentially leaning.
Yeah, you know what? It's been a while since we've seen the Tim's Monkey King, and I remember a time before DPC when Boom just got their new players, their 3 new players. Tim's Monkey King was playing like a core. He went like 16-0 something the last time we saw that in like a Pro Series 7 or Pro Series 8. So I'm liking Booms. I think Polaris can put up a good fight, though. It's a lot of back and forth, but I can't go against the Tim's Monkey King, I think.
Yeah, I go the other way. I think Polaris' draft is just much easier to execute. Great team fight, just so much aggression. I don't know. I think Polaris could actually take this game 1 off Boom.
I like it. For you guys, which draft favored a little bit more?
I agree with them about Polaris being easier to execute. Like if I was throwing this into a pub game, I would 100% think Polaris would win.
Just draft?
Just draft, yeah. But it's Boom.
I think the Viper
Yeah,
we
I
haven't
also
even
was gonna
touched upon is going to cause some problems too, like with the lanes and also just contesting those stacks, fighting early on. So I would lean Boom just because they play these aggressive early mid-game drafts so well.
Then the question I'm going to leave with you guys now is Lelouch or Yopaj?
Yopaj!
Lelouch!
Okay, and what
let's
about
go.
you, Mike and John?
Go on.
I'm gonna upset some
Oh, that's a
Boom
toughie. I
fans
can't
here.
go against Yopaj. He's from my city, so I've got to say Yopaj. He's from my hometown. We're in the same city. If he was here, so Yopaj all the way, I guess.
You never bet against Yopaj. That's the rule. Never bet against this man. I think Yopaj all the way.
That's definitely a lot stacking on Yopaj. I'm excited to see if he does live up to that, see him in action. But please, Mike and John, take us away for this game one.
Thank you so much. Now, we do get into a game number one, John. This is such a hype matchup. I've been waiting for this all damn night. Polaris against Boom Esports. I mean, we both said Yopaj, but Lelouch, he's been on fire recently, Jonathan. He's been on absolute fire. You never know what he could pull off here.
Yeah, he's been playing really well. He was #1 for a while, and he's been showing that. It's a tough matchup. I think this is probably one of Boom's tougher matchups, just because of how well Polaris plays and that understanding Polaris has of Boom. Because you have to remember, Polaris, again, they've been around for a long time. You can see the all chat already going in. A lovely view coming out, but the all chat's what I'm really keen on. Everyone wants to see Lycan, because I believe Scam also has a husky that he's named Lycan as well. So Jackie has his husky named Lycan. So everyone wants to see that cute little pupper. And I'm sure Scam and, but they all miss it.
Jeez.
Savius asking for coffee with Japoy. Hey, get in line, Kuya Marms. Get in line.
Hey, hold on a minute. Japoy's invited John for their romantic dinner. In fact, I intervened, didn't I, John? I made him invite me as well. I'm coming to that dinner, Jonathan.
Yeah, we're all going to show up. We're all going to head down to Davao, collapse on that home, have a great time. You see Yopaj the question marks.
Everyone wants to be friends with the new mid player, the new guy.
They go all the way back. You have to remember as well, Natsumi used to be on old Obi Neon, if you recall, right? So a little bit of that back and forth history there coming true as well. Wow. And Yopaj saying that he's going to take a shower first for some reason. It's like, okay, that the implications of that, Yopaj, is a bit different. It implies you haven't taken a shower. So
Don't be rude, John. He'd do the same for you, I'm sure.
Fair enough. Good to see the teams in high spirits. So again, when we talk about Polaris, I can't help it. Every time I check my Facebook, these guys have always got someone to make fun of from any team. They just lay it on. If they see something from Zach from Lane, the manager of Boom, they just lay on because he's also from Cebu. They see something from Scam, they lay on. They see Scam's new shoes from Boom, they say, "Oh, sana all. I wish we all had those Boom shoes." They always do that. So you gotta love Polaris and you gotta love Boom handing it back. But it looks like we've got internet issues, Mike. You know what? That's to be expected. This is technically two teams in the Philippines, so this is par for the course, Mike.
Yeah, it certainly is, John. And shout out to the Polaris Esports, Polaris social media guy who just been really on point with the memes recently, John. We might have had a bit of interruptions here from the Polaris boys in terms of those internet polls out the Boom Esports house. And, what can you do? If you haven't followed Polaris Esports, give them a follow on Twitter. They're a bit low on followers. I think they deserve one with the way they've been playing, John. They're #1 in the DPC right now.
That they are, as we have a wait from Polaris, so they've got issues themselves. This is, again, par for the course. Both sides have to... There you go. We are ready to go. Absolutely. Lovely courier form there.
Cat, John. Thank you, John. I didn't want you to think I was calling you cute, John, just in case you went that way.
Oh, Mike, I know not to expect that from you. Oh.
You are cute, John.
Oh, thank you. Wow. Just as I said, I wouldn't expect that still.
Gonna hold the high ground. Vision is there though from Boom Esports. They won't make their way up. Of course, Force was waiting very patiently to be able to initiate into that fight. I mean, you've got level 1 timings here. You can certainly force a decent fight from either team. We know Polaris in particular, they are very, very aggressive as a squad. And it's always a pleasure to watch this side playing. See how aggressive they managed to get against Boom Esports though, as this team, very surgical they are, Boom Esports, and they tend to be able to really punish you if you leave any kind of opening in your aggression. See if they fight. 10 seconds for the batting routes to spawn up. Looks like Boom Esports will head towards the south side of things.
The battle.
Banner runes are there. It's going to be a 2 for 2 though. No fight to break out. Both teams just kind of accept it. Though Tim's top side is copping a bit of damage, but it should be okay, surely. And Mavis will just continue chasing him down. A lot of damage being dealt here onto this Monkey King. And John, while we're here, of course it's going to be Tim's and FBZ on the Viper and Monkey King duo against Mavis on that POS 5 DP. And more importantly, that POS 1 Medusa from Natsumi. John, talk to me a bit about this lane. It should favor FBZ and Tim's, but can it go the other way potentially?
And you've got a lot of ways of zoning out here for Mavis. I think the first 2 levels feel a lot better for the DP. You can play around with the Spirit Siphon. Level 3 is a pretty good spike with that at level 2. So you can kind of manage Tim's running forward. But same thing goes. Once Boom has levels up on Tim's, has levels up on FBZ, they have a lot of DOTs to play with. With a Viper, they have the threat of Jingu and a Boundless coming through if Tim's goes 1-1-1. So there's a lot of counterplay as well from Boom, and it's always just naturally tough for the Deuce to play. You know, your creep wave's always going to have that Nether Toxin on. You can play around with Mystic Snake, but it doesn't feel like you trade positively with a Viper. So you kind of have to watch yourself. I think the pressure's on Mavis to really get a lot of presence out with the DP. Not the easiest, especially since, you know, Monkey King, melee hero with 300 range, can still kind of trade well with that DP anyway.
Yeah, and FBZ can always join in with the poison attack if he deems it necessary. So we'll have a look at the other lanes as well while we have a chance, I'm sure. Of course, you got mid lane, rather bot lane, with the Vengeful Spirit. In fact, they might get started right now. They're going to throw a stun out onto Jackie. And Skem is going to be there on the IO to make sure he does remain protected. Of course, they are going to be against Force and Xavius on the Sand King and Vengeful Spirit respectively. Do you think there's much of a choice in, or rather a chance in being able to kill Jackie here in this safe lane? I mean, you've got Skem IO around.
You've got a lot of stuns on Polaris' end, so you can go for the double stun, holding them back in that Sandstorm, trying to play with Caustic. Gyro is ranged, but not the longest range, so he is still in danger of being popped with the explosion of the Caustic. So the creep wave is very important for Force to control. You have to watch for like level 3, level 4 for the Gyrocopter with the IO. Overcharge plus a Rocket Barrage rundown can be really strong, although Jackie is going for the Flak Cannon build. So he's not going for that lane presence.
Mavis falling very, very quick there. Apologies for the interruption there, John. We're just trying to keep an eye out for First Blood here. I mean, that top lane, you already talked about this, but it's just so hard for even Mavis on the DP to really be able to force them away from Natsumi.
Yeah, it's just a very steady lane for Boom, and we're still seeing that bot as well. Like, it's just way too much sustain coming out from the IO. They don't have a good way of jumping out the IO yet, especially without the levels in the Burst Strike from Force. So Scam can just stand forward, cut them off, and ensure that Jackie just farms as much as he wants. This kind of slower start will favor Boom, I feel like, because Gyrocopter's mid-game spike is a lot stronger. You are building up in your stacks here for Polaris, so it's as the panel said, you've got the Venge. You can just stall out, get the stacks going, and start clearing them out. With Wave of Terror later on, it's going to be really easy for Natsumi to get that flash farm.
Excellent.
FBZ top lane's falling very low, but he's going to be alright, just barely making his way out. And I suppose we should talk about the mid lane for a moment here, John, because we haven't really gone over this at all. Lelouch against Yopaj, the Invoker vs Void Spirit matchup. Naturally, in terms of CS, it is probably going to favor the Void Spirit, though Yopaj is only a couple CS behind right now. Lelouch, Tornado's there, Yopaj going to be just fine. Is there a point where either hero just kind of takes over this laning stage, John, in the mid lane?
Level 6 for Lelouch feels a lot more impactful. He can jump onto Yopaj, he can get his supports on hand, especially Xavius if he comes in with a stun. So you can look for that early aggression onto the Invoker, and every single time Yopaj cops that Remnant into Resonant Pulse, it's very painful. He doesn't have much to hold against it. He has to play with Tornado to dispel that shield from Lelouch, not always up in the early levels, and it does feel a bit tougher. This kind of start for Lelouch could mean that snowball effect comes in. We know it from the mid of Polaris, but Lelouch does show up when he does have that early start, gets jumping, gets going, and once that Astral Step is up, you can expect that aggression to come in from the Void Spirit.
Certainly so. Top lane again, Mavis and Tim's kind of going at it. Tim's will be able to get the Jingu Mastery going for himself. FBZ wasn't close enough to really be able to help out there, so instead we'll intercept and intervene this small camp pool. Yeah, I've got to say, John, I haven't seen the biggest impact from FBZ yet on this Viper. Like, even in the laning stage, he's quite behind Natsumi at the moment on this Deucer. And you know, these kind of Viper heroes, they tend to be very reliant on dominating that laning stage.
Yeah, we're not seeing that dominance coming out from FBZ. I think down the line, it can still feel really good once you have the overcharge target. So you could still tether up overcharge on a Viper. That's a lot of magic damage to amp up. I think that's something they could do to boost FBZ's presence down the line. Also a very tanky hero. But you're happy with the results here for Polaris. You're getting a strong lane for Deducer. Your stacks are still secure. You've been blocked off by Schem running up, but there's still a good amount of farm still waiting to be cleared out later on.
Top lane again is seemingly where all the action is Mavis. Gonna be alright. Instead, Tims does go for the balance onto Natsumi, but it's just gonna be a bit of damage. Natsumi just pops the mana shield straight after the balance strike and knows he is not gonna die. So first blood yet to be achieved by either side. 5.5 minutes in. Just nobody dropping quite yet. Some close calls in the off lane of Boone, but that's about it. I think FBZ was the closest to dying. I mean, you look at Polaris as well, like Xavier's, he's just stacking the triangle this whole time. Like it seems like the Polaris game plan is going quite well so far.
Yeah, just build up for Deducer, ensure that the flash farm will come in. You're not seeing the same stacking out from Boom. We're not seeing Tims really focus in on the triangle as much, so not as much catch-up farm there for Jackie. He is going for the Rocket Barrage build, so the presence of the IO Overcharge is a lot stronger, and he is rushing Diffusal Gyrocopter. So he just wants to counteract the Deducer, going for the Diffusal, having some early presence. That could be the tempo that Boom's looking for. Once that item's up, they can just play with Relocate, play with the vision from Tims, and get going, but that is leading to this stalemate in the laning phase. Just back and forth in farm so far.
Yeah. Force gonna cop a stun there, he'll be fine. Xavius will join Lelouch in the mid lane, but just for a bottle top-up. Does make his way right back into that triangle, just stacking up once again. A lot of stacks in this triangle right now, Jonathan. You kind of hope that Boom Esports will be able to at some point try to intercept and take these stacks away, but it's not going to be that easy. Top lane as well. Rotations coming in. Lelouch, he has hit that level 6 mark, so he wants to move.
Tower is under attack.
BZ and Tim's just standing back and understanding Lelouch is missing off the map, though. Tims thinking about getting a little bit cheeky there, but does back off, and well, so far Lelouch unable to find a jump in.
They've done a great job. FBZ though.
Oh, never mind. FBZ, he does come back in eventually. The rotations were quick, but it won't matter. First blood will go the way of Polaris, but now Lelouch is out of mana and out of step charges, which might mean he's just set to go down. Primal spring in from Tims, chase down the Void Spirit. Do they have him though? Not quite. Lelouch, he gets into that tree line and does survive. So instead they'll have to take Mavis's life. But I think you'll be very satisfied with that if you are Polaris Esports.
Big kill to take on the offlane. The Vipers already had a very slow start. Going to be hard for FBZ to recover. And they don't really get the big kill they want on the Void Spirit, so they don't get the punishment. This is still good for Boom in the sense that it gives Yopaj his earn charge, so you can try to play with the Cold Snap, try to control someone out when they do show up in lane, and start getting some punishment going. There is still that issue standing of the triangle, and Force is going to clear out the large camp himself. Lots of gold for our offlane Sand King. He is just rushing Blink, no bracers, no messing around, just Tranks Blink build up for Force. He knows he has to be that active follow-up for the Void Spirit to jump in and kind of set up for the team here.
1-to-1, Yopaj gets caught by an Aether Remnant mid lane. They didn't have the follow-up stun here from Xavius because Yopaj, he did land the Tornado EMP. So Yopaj going to be narrowly avoid death there as Xavius unable to follow up.
Is under attack.
Already a very tense game, this game number 1. It's been a little bit of a slow start, John, but both these teams playing very efficiently, just on the edge. Not wanting to give those openings away to each other. And you know, the one thing that we have kind of forgotten about this whole time is the fact that Jackie is just freely farming up in this Gyrocopter. He's already 1k ahead of this Medusa, John.
He's getting a really good start. It's going to lead to that fast diffusal timing. He's going to be very aggressive. Again, with the relocate plays, with the vision game Boom has, they're going to look to just constantly jump around once that pause 1 gyro is ready. Feels like that's their launching point. You know, the Invoker takes a little bit more time. Viper with a slower start doesn't feel as impactful, so they will want to use that magic damage, use that mana burn to get control, and maybe even contest those stacks. Jackboys can clear it out pretty well as long as Skem's around, and looks like they might get going for that soon, as they've kept a good eye on the Ancients. Tims was microing his illusions really well to block off as well, although Skem's walking by himself.
Yeah, he'll get caught out. Another nice initiation from Lelouch. No hesitation whatsoever. You really want to make sure Natsumi remains protected in that triangle. No one to interrupt the stacks being taken. They may not be ready yet for the Ancients, but well, they can certainly just keep stacking up. And you know what, John? Never mind. He is ready. He'll just take them right now.
Yep. They've got the Wave of Terror to get some minus armor going. Not going to take as long for Natsumi to get that farm. And they know there's some pressure here from Boom. There's always the issue of them running up. Jack Boys could just commit his call down, clear it out really fast. They are getting some good work done on the top tier 1 here. Boom's just applying pressure. And
oh, nice tree cut. Very nice tree cut there from Force, but he's still in big trouble. Burrow Strike is there. It will not help the cause. Tornado is going to get the job done, but now Lelouch, he might be able to clean up. He wants Tims, and more importantly, he wants Yopaj, but can he find the Invoker? Aether Remnant not off cooldown, so Yopaj is going to be fine. In the meantime, though, FBZ also gets caught out on the Viper. That'll be a 2-for-1 trade in the favor of Polaris Esports. Or is it? Mavis. Yeah, moving back in. It's a high-risk, low-reward play, I think. Jonathan and Yopashi may have gone too far this time. He verifies up, but Mavis is not going to drop. Oh, a very rare mistake here from Yopaj, but in the meantime, down a bot lane. Natsumi even going down on this Medusa. Still Jackie in a bit of trouble, but Skem gets him out. So who does it really favor in the end, John?
It still feels pretty big for Polaris. I mean, you are hurting a little bit more losing your Dusa, but she's not losing as much. They're setting up for a play down bot, though.
Yeah, Force. Again, being jumped on here by Tims, and with that rocket barrage, you're going to have absolutely no issue getting another kill for this gyrocopter. So 4-5 now, and it does seem like both teams are slowly winding up and getting ready to let the spring loose.
And this is the timing we were looking for from Boom. Diffusal's up on Jackie. He's just ready to go, play with the inhibit, run them down with the rocket barrage. Takes a little bit more time to take care of Force, but they'll find that bot tier 1. Not the biggest tower, but this will allow them a pretty clean angle to constantly run into the triangle now. At least this angle from the bot side. So they can try to contest Natsumi. They can try to contest Polaris, building up some stacks. And the game's still relatively even. I think Polaris has done a good job of winning out their other lanes. They've done a great job of enabling Natsumi. The initial farm status is a lot better for Jackie, but that's still a Dusa who's not too far behind. So it just needs a little bit more room to grow. Lelouch has been super active, and we've got that blink on Force. We can expect our Sand King to maybe start joining in a little bit more with the Epicenter, with a Burst Strike. In comparison, FBZ still doesn't have much. He's trying to work for the Dragonlance, not too far off from that gold marker, but the presence from the Viper isn't really felt, and I think that's going to be the constant issue for Boom. The Viper is such a lane-dominant hero, but in this game, you just didn't see that dominance at all.
No, you certainly didn't, John. Polaris Esports, they might be dominant. Top lane, 3-man smoke up. Yopaj, he does not want to tank this gank right now. He'll go for the Ghost Walk, but they've got the dust down and they've got the control. Yopaj is gone, and he ends up tanking the gank here for FBZ of all people.
Yeah, not ideal. He dies, but his might is off cooldown as well, so efficiency's being lost, and with an Invoker, every single use of that might counts to come online faster. They do manage to secure the top tier 1 in the end, so at least you get an objective off that death, but again, it's not the most worthwhile. This is a much slower start for Yopaj, and that's something Polaris can really just capitalize on, knowing that both FBZ and Yopaj are having a rough start. All the momentum come out from them. You can't expect Jackie to take early activity on the Gyro as much. Despite having IO Gyro, you can see that Scam and Jackie are just working bot jungle. They're not really interested in helping out until maybe the BKB on Jackie. Then you can start thinking about the IO coming in.
Yeah. 4-6 now, 1k net worth lead still standing here for Boom, and that's one of the things, right? Like, we used to talk about this with Jackie a lot of the time back in the Motivate Trust days, but it's that one kind of hero where Jackie, if you leave him alone for long enough, he's always just going to outscale you in terms of farm. Just finds gold out of nowhere, as Boom Esports still going with this 4 Protect 1, do move in. A nice Tornado with the EMP out. This could be the team fight they've been looking for. However, Xavius, he's not really dying. Tims is the one to drop, as FBZ is still trying to do with Mavis. And he gets him down eventually, but in the backside, Xavius is caught. Skem does drop to boot. But they've got Lelouch down on the Void Spirit, and they want more. They want Force in the Sand King, and they might just have him. Jackie's joined the team, and he's made it work. A double kill on the Gyro. That's one big team fight. Boom has actually won this game.
They make it work their way. They didn't bother waiting for the BKB to get Jack Boys in, knowing that Polaris were caught off guard. Really good smoke play coming out from Boom.
Dire's
Really
middle
good
tower
read
is under
from
attack.
Yopaj to get that tornado from the low ground.
Oh, Yopaj, he doesn't go for that attempt on the Deucer. Wasn't really much matter to speak of, but I guess he just felt a little bit, you know, a little bit vulnerable there.
He's been burned, Mike. He's tried that multiple times up top. You know, jumping something that he'd think is easy by himself. They've got detection. There were some good sentries to watch him in case he did have an escape plan with the ghost form. So, not willing to risk it too much now. Especially after getting that kill, it's getting the comeback from those swings. You are seeing that emphasis from mid now. Boom looking to just pressure the mid tier 1. Not much hold you can expect from Polaris. They don't have Epicenter, they don't have the Stone Gaze, so it's really just down to maybe Lelouch and Sages getting some good swaps off.
Dire structures are fortified.
Setting up, Polaris Esports are not willing to let this tier 1 mid tower fall. Not for free anyway. Guard force, he's in. Who have they got there? It's going to be Jackie with the swap out. Jackie's gone. Immediately just deleted. A Schem will follow.
Radiant's bottom
FBC,
tower is under attack.
he'll back off.
Haste.
But boy, oh boy, that was quick, John. Just one swap into a stun and he just disappeared.
And that's really unfortunate for the side of Boom. They just got the BKB up on Jackie in the base. Didn't have it in that fight, so they managed to catch Boom off guard. Again, just a good swap off from Zavis sets up for that, along with Lelouch jumping in, and that's where Polaris' lineup shines. They are very mobile with these heroes. You don't have that same mobility on Boom outside of Relocate and the Monkey King jumping in, but Timps isn't at the point where, you know, he's going ham on that Monkey yet. He's had a slower start, Swell in his pause 4, only has that Orb of Corrosion. They've been using the vision well, and they will go for a smoke play with Yopaj and FBZ. Gotta find something here.
Oh, Medusa is the target, Tims. Not going to be able to get in range for him, so instead they're trying to focus on the Force. Fire Strike is there, but it should not help. This Force will eventually fall. And I think Boom Esports will rush back into that mid-tier 1 tower. No, never mind, they want Roshan. Even without the mid-tier 1 going down, they'll rush for it.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
They know the big playmaker in that Sand King with control is gone. Lelouch could try to jump in, but he doesn't have a stun on him. He doesn't have Axe, nowhere close. He does have the E-Blade. There's some good damage here. But Polaris, they don't even have vision in the area, so they don't expect it. I don't think they see this at all.
I think they scanned it out there, John, but it might be a matter of what you kind of said, with the Sand King's just not around to help you with this team fight. They won't bother trying. So Aegis does go the way of Boom. No contest. Still a very, very tight game, though. Very slight net worth lead here for Boom Esports. And I suppose you could always just put your trust in Natsumi to just keep hitting creeps on that Deucer. And eventually get to that Eye of Skadi timing where he will be a bit of a powerhouse. I suppose you could say the exact same thing for Jackie, who's still just out farming the Deucer.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
I think the issue for Polaris now is, like, it does feel like they've lost out on some of that early spikes. Like, the Blink Dagger on Force just hasn't felt the biggest impact. We haven't seen the big epicenter blinks, burst strikes that we want to see from the Sand King. It does feel like Boom's been able to get a lot more, and when Boom does get caught out, it's them being too aggressive with their position. So we're not seeing Polaris take the full initiative in this game. It's fair enough that you do have the Deucer, you want to take it slow, but you have to be able to stop Boom from finding ways to come back in. Because Yopaj, FBZ, despite those slower starts, they're within 1k gold of Lelouch. These are momentum set. They're ahead of Force, despite Force having a slightly better time in his bot lane. So you are seeing that comeback go through for these other cores on Boom.
They get Mavis down on bot side. Relocate there from Schem and Jackie. We'll get it done. Schem will take him right back towards that triangle. Worth lead just not really moving though. Just 1k. Group up though, Boom Esports. They may want to go. Ooh, 4-man smoke. Jackie, he might just play the bait for the team in this mid lane. Xavius does have the swap ready if he wants to try and attempt this, but it might be too obvious the bait has been laid. Lelouch, he does break the smoke, does just dissimulate away. And Polaris Esports, they still want to hold on to this mid-tier 1. That swap is there. They found Tim's, they'll just blow him up. Ethereal Blade is already up and online for Lelouch, so they've definitely got the damage.
They've got a lot of burst on hand with Lelouch jumping in. I feel like that smoke was caught out by this ward down mid, so not the ideal position for Boom to go for that play. And Polaris were just set up nicely to counter-engage. Managed to find a good angle. They're getting some good space out for Force to keep trying to farm up. He does have the Veil up on Sand King. So even more Spell Amp coming through with the E-Blade coming out on Lush. A lot of burst potential to take care and go through that sustain the IO does provide. So Jackie has to be a bit careful, has to be able to use that BKB at the right time to not die. Still has the Aegis on hand, and he is working on the Ags now on the Gyro. So a lot more presence, a lot more stats, some good damage coming through on the Gyrocopter once that's up. I think Polaris are still in a very playable position now. As you mentioned, Mike, the lead isn't that much. Your Medusa's still farming up great, you're scaling really nicely on the Lelouch. The concern is really just Sand King falling a bit behind, but it's a Sand King. With the Blink Dagger, you feel comfy enough. And for Boom, we need to see what they get up to. I think towards the late game, you do have that potential to just Alacrity up the Gyrocopter, go ham, get a lot of damage, get a lot of output with the overcharge on top of that. So you can still count on that damage scaling into the late game, but the Medusa late game just feels overwhelmingly tanky. You only have Gyrocopter Diffusal. You're going to have to depend on Yopaj to get that Tornado EMP combo, truly drag down Medusa in the later fights.
Strikes off the mark, but they've still got it busy here with the Safer Remnant. Sunstrike, though, does find the Sand King, and now Tims, he wants to go through the man fight within that Wukong's command, but the Spirit Siphon is still going. It just won't matter, because the relocate was there from Skem and Jackie. It'll be a 2-for-1. And now you can certainly finish off this mid-tier 1 tower. The Glyph is going to be forced, but Boom, they'll stick around this time around. It won't be too hard with Jackie. Just get it done. And speaking of the Devil, I believe Jackie does have enough gold now for the Agza.
Yep, just doing so much damage. And again, this takes me back to Boom pre-DPC. We used to see this a lot, especially when they still had Palos in their lineup. They absolutely loved IO plus Gyrocopter, and it was a different playstyle from Palos. I remember that was like a Crystallis rush. So he was just rushing damage this time around. Diffusal still doing a great job. With the Ags up, of course, he's going to go straight to the Satanic, so even more sustained with the IO on top. It's going to be a bit hard to pierce through the Gyrocopter this game. You're going to have to try to isolate him, really depending on Xavius to get that good swap off on the Venge. And he's delivered the goods before. He does have the Keen Optic as well to help with that range there, Mike. So you're feeling pretty good. Xavius, though, in classic form, as he does on his pause 4, is rushing the Ags. So he doesn't have any utility on hand, no Force Staff, no Glimmer Capes to help save. He just wants that second life, and if he is allowed to build to that point, I think we can see Polaris going a lot more aggressive. They don't need to rely on Sand King to get a good opening. They could just throw the first life of Venge away, come back in, stun up, get a good position for Force to follow through on the Sand King instead, and clean up. So I think that's what we need to see now from Polaris. Just hold out a little bit more. You're only about 400 gold away from that Ags on Venge. Once that's up, you do want to see some aggression come in.
Still very patient from either side. It seems like Boom Esports has been the ones trying to be the aggressors here in this game, but in fact, speaking of that aggression, Xavius still trying to farm up his Ags, and very close to it is probably going to fall. Boom Esports will immediately punish anyone they see on the map with this relocate.
Top tower is under attack.
There goes Mavis, rather Xavius, excuse me, and there'll be a bit of a delayed Ags now. I suppose they're still just happy though. Natsumi's just continuing to hit creeps and does have the Eye of Skadi on the way. The Medusa does have that nice slow and that tank ability now. Is this the item timing, John? Like, would you like to see Natsumi get involved now?
I mean, he could. It doesn't feel like the most protected. You've got a lot of magic damage to deal with Medusa. I think without a BKB, you just don't feel secure when you're playing against Invoker. EMP just ruins your EHP. That's the big worry for Natsumi. He could try to dodge with a Manta, but he's got to be very patient with that use. I think it still runs a massive risk. You could show up, but that's assuming you're the aggressor. You want to catch Yopaj first, take out the Invoker, then you feel a lot comfier on that Medusa in these fights.
We're gonna head for that top tier 2 tower instead. Jackie,
Dire's structures are fortified.
move in. Polaris Esports, they're gonna be the ones to force the defense.
Top tower is
But nice timing. Lelouch does have the Ags up now, so you've got that AoE silence available. FBZ, he'll be the first one to get scouted out, but Lelouch doesn't really want to go after the Viper first. You'd much rather find the IO in the back if you can, or even that Invoker. And speaking of Ags, there's one on Xavius now. So perhaps it's time for it to force a smoke here from Polaris. And they do group up. See if they want to pop it. It does seem like they will. 5-man smoke through the mid lane. Ping's already coming out for FBZ on this Viper. With the swap, you should have a very easy setup here onto the Viper, but FBZ not going to allow them to. He does get back. You've got to make your way in past that tier 1 tower, but it's a very difficult tower to get past. So Natsumi trying to take it down instead. FBZ does get scouted. Oh boy, they don't go for the swap though on the Burrow Strike. It was wasted, so Jackie will move in. Lelouch, he gets swapped in as well, but he can step out of there. The Sunstrike will still find Tavius in the end, as they are just trying to retreat right now, Polaris Esports. They mess up the initiation, and that's going to be enough for them. They don't want to bleed too much up.
Yeah, you can see that cast point on the swap just working against them. They almost had that swap to get that kill onto FBZ. Force preemptively gets the Burrow Strike off, but it was cancelled. They lost vision from Wave of Terror. FBZ just steps a little bit away, as that was like a max range glimpse they had. And with that, you find a little bit extra for Boom. You still managed to take out the tier 1 tower, but that was denied. And Boom now are in a pretty good position to look to force a fight themselves if they wanted to. But they'll just play it safe. I think they're just really confident in their gyrocopter scaling towards late game. Because, okay, in the core-to-core matchup, Dusa does feel a lot better than gyrocopter in ultra late game scenarios. But again, you have to consider this is not a vacuum. You're a Dusa up against Diffusal Gyro and EMP Invoker. So it's just not comfy for Natsumi, and you can see Mike, he is going for the BKB to have that security in these fights. So he's compensating for that issue. That should help massively. This is allowing, you know, the slow build-up for Boom, and we're only about 20 seconds away from next rush. So this is something Polaris can't afford to lose. Boom will go for a smoke play before that, though.
They will. I believe it was under vision, however, and there is your tree break. They found Tim's on that Monkey King, but they don't seem to be able to make their way over in that little gap. Instead, they'll swap him in, they'll take him out. The Force is in trouble now. He'll go for deals in the backside. Lelouch, he's got the IO. Skem, no, he's gonna die. He'll try to survive as Natsumi, he will just keep rushing onto Jackie and FBZ. They've got them both. Buyback or not from Skem, he was not there in time. And suddenly Polaris, they've got a Roshan on their hands.
Yeah, that's a big opening for Polaris. They can clear this out really fast. Woody Exorcism still running. No counterplay coming out from Boom. They just don't have any sort of jump to contest. So it's going to be a nice straightforward rush number 2 for Polaris with a free Ag Shard. And you're in a spot of trouble now for Boom. You managed to put up your gyrocopter way too far forward. Scotty going for the BKB, way too much slow and control. And you can't just sustain. You don't have the Satanic on Jackie to play against that yet.
Being caught out top lane. They've got the Rod of Atos there, but he is able to step away. Lelouch kind of interrupting our replay there, Jonathan. It was a very nice replay as well. But Lelouch gets his way out of there and actually finds a double damage rune. Very nice. He'll eat the shards first. Bottle that one up. In fact, give it to Natsumi. Why the hell not?
Yep. Give it to Natsumi. He's your big damage dealer at this point. Still no BKB, but not too far off considering... Oh no, he does have the BKB, just queued up another for some reason. Hasn't DQ'd. Still pressuring mid FBZ. Not having the best presence in that Viper. Could cop the gank here.
I mean, he's got a BKB, but that's about all he's got right now. Vipage, the B-Swamp, but he's got his own BKB. He'll take down the Vengeful Spirit. Natsumi has popped the Stone Gaze now, looking to force this fight, but everyone from Boom is just going to turn the other way. Just not look at the crazy Snake Lady. Perhaps now you can force a better fight here for Boom. Tim's, he's trying to get within range for a stun. Lelouch, maybe the target, and it does land very nicely. Lelouch, what a bait tossed up. Has a step charge, and he's going to get it. In fact, now Force jumps back in. FBZ on the Viper is going to melt. And Polaris want more. They'll chase them down, try to hunt somebody else. But Boom, again, very cautious. Do get everyone else out of there. Polaris Esports. They'll accept what they get. They might lose Force though. Rod of Atos again out from Tim's to hold down the Sand King within the Wukong's command, but he does blink away. Very nice escape there from Force. Sunstrike. Oh, very nice. Shared by Mavis.
Yeah, share it for the team. They managed to save Force out, and Boom. And they're losing a lot of presence now. Massive issue with Adusa, with the Scotty and BKB. They can't just burn down the mana anymore. Yopaj is having a tougher time finding that angle for the EMP. So this gives Polaris so much more room to go around. I mean, the Ag's up as well in Lelouch. That silence is just devastating on backline. And Polaris are just doing great now. They're smoked up. They're looking to be aggressive. You might be able to catch someone out here.
Lelouch is in, and he's got Tims. It's just so easy with that Ethereal Blade. The amount of damage Lelouch does. You really can't survive that onslaught if you are a support here on Boom. And Polaris Esports now, John, suddenly 8k ahead, and all this patience and persistence has paid off very nicely.
Yeah, they just built up really well. They snowball off of one fight into that Roche. And now they're in a really good position with their Dusa. 1k gold ahead, not full item up. But you are feeling a lot stronger with the BKB, with the Scotty, with the swap saves you've got from Xavius, with the aggressive swaps you can get off as well. Like for Boom, they're so reliant on having good vision out with Tims, but they're just not able to maximize it right now.
Great remnant from FD, or rather Lelouch, but follow up. I mean, the high ground is still going to be difficult for either team to try and make. Polaris Esports, they won't underestimate their opponents and pay them the respect of backing off, even with that Aegis up. You might just wait for the Daedalus, like that big damage item here for Natsumi, before you really try for high ground. And I wouldn't quite blame them. The Medusa, he's tanky right now, but without damage, it's going to take a long time to get through that tier 3 in the racks. Yopaj? He does see the Medusa, but yeah, a bit too hard of a target, I think, to take.
And they've got to find a way to deal with the BKB. They need to kind of outlast the BKB, turn around, come back in, get the control onto the Medusa, and it's easier said than done. And when you just look at Polaris' jump potential with Sand King, with Void Spirit, and the Venge, they have so many ways of putting Boom out of position. And where we've seen Boom succeed is, again, playing with Tim's vision, getting to relocate on top of an unsuspecting target. But Tims can't go out so far from his base now. He's been cut off. There's not as much map control for Boom to play that style. And Polaris are doing good to punish that lack of aggression. The passive play from Boom is just not shaping up all too well, and it just favors Polaris as this game goes on.
Dire's structures are fortified.
15 to 18. 10k advantage here for Polaris. Boom. What item timing are we waiting for now? I mean, the Daedalus being built up on Jackie certainly helps. Yopaj, he's been forced to go for a bit of a defensive build in that Lincoln Sphere, and you can't quite blame him. It's been a very tough game for the Invoker so far. Lelouch has been just doing a fantastic job on this Void Spirit. Boom, though. 5-man smoke up. It seems like they might just use the smoke to reposition. I mean, no one's around the bot side of the map right now from Polaris. They're actually grouped up in the mid lane, and it looks like they're preparing for their own smoke now. So we could have a smoke-on-smoke situation. In fact, never mind the smoke, Lelouch. Clear out the creep wave first. They're just going to walk in the old-fashioned way, into that Radiant Triangle. They seem to know exactly where Boom are, and oh, they might even find Yopaj's courier here, but it does rush fast. It's all right.
Would have been a massive take, taking out that Lincolns before this fight broke out. So Yopaj has some protection now against the swap. Even with his BKB running, you're not going to be able to put that Invoker out of position, and that could be key for Boom to, again, wait through the BKB of the Dusa, play with the EMP Tornado, play with the Alacrity that Yopaj can toss out onto Jackie, and kind of run from there. Polaris, they've lost the Aegis, it's expired. They are slowly sieging onto the tier 2s, and Boom understands they can't really force the issues there. So just finding farm where they can, getting Jackie onto the side lanes. They've always got Relocate to come back into a fight if they want. FBZ's pretty far back in here, so they might be thinking about something here.
To the high ground they go. And Natsumi certainly got the damage this time. No Aegis up, but it won't matter. In fact, they're going to respond down bot. Jackie, oh, he's been caught. He'll BKB up. Skem immediately going down. Jackie, though, he'll TP away. In fact, a fight down on the bot side of the map now as well, rather top side, as Natsumi and Mavis. Just going to walk out of the Wukong's command. And so Boom Esports, they were not able to punish in the meantime. Still trying to find that opening, but Polaris are giving them nothing.
Just very disciplined out from Polaris, responding in the right way, breaking off the tether to stop the Relocate saves, and finding that nice IO dieback. Well, it's just they're just slowly sieging, taking tier 2s, taking objectives where they can. Although
Radiant's middle tower.
They've got the Sand King. Force, not a bad kill whatsoever, but now Lelouch has jumped in and he'll at least find Tims. Which I think is still a worthwhile trade if you can get Yopaj out of there, and he is indeed out. If you can find a couple more of those, maybe Boom can delay this long enough to make a real comeback happen. Jackie, he's already basically 6-slotted anyway on the gyrocopter. It just seems like Natsumi's way too... Oh boy, scan bot lane. Lelouch knows he's in the tree line somewhere, and now with the Shiver's Guard, he's going to be able to scan him out. But Aether Remnant does not connect Yopaj. Still going to be able to jump into that Ghost Walk, and we'll be able to avoid Lelouch. No detection available on the Void Spirit means he cannot continue pursuing this kill.
Yopaj is playing this really greedy. He's just holding his ground down here, maybe waiting for Skem to respawn so they get an eye relocate. But Lelouch does back off reading that, so not going to find a punishment onto Yopaj. At the same time, Yopaj is kind of pinned to this bot lane, and Polaris are still working the rest of the map. They're working that triangle area of Boom, cutting off the farm for Jackie. We're seeing a substantial lead now from Natsumi, about 3k up, and that Dusa is starting to feel like a massive issue. It kind of just boils down to having, once more, Yopaj having to land that Tornado EMP onto that target, and it's easier said than done with all the protection you have for Natsumi. Even if the Manta and BKB is down, you've always got the swap from Xavius to save.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
Always fighting over this this Radiant outpost. Never wanting to give that free XP over. Polaris still in a really nice position, but these side lanes just constantly being pushed out. Yopaj has not left that bot lane yet. He's just keeping this creep wave forced in, buying much more time here for his carry. And there is going to be a smoke from Polaris. They might be able to set up on Tims, but no, a nice tree dance away. He'll be fine. Just everyone split across the map. Now Jackie taking over the bot lane, but there is going to be a gank out from Lelouch, but no! He jumps towards the creep wave instead. He ignores them completely. Force. Getting it jumped. Sunstrike does connect, but where's your follow-up? To the DP they go, but Mavis, he's going to be just fine. They don't connect the Tornado and the Boundless perfectly. And again, the outpost seems to be the main thing that everyone wants.
Yeah, it's just a good source of control for Boom to still play that bot jungle. Without it, it feels a lot less safe. You can see the emphasis from Polaris again to just slowly choke Boom out. They're working this network lead really well, although Mavis...
Yeah, he's been caught this time. Chaos Meteor, but no, a nice swap away from Xavius. Not going to allow the DP to cop all that damage.
Radiant's middle
Very
tower
high level
is
play
under
here
attack.
between these two teams. Again, no one making a mistake.
Dire's bottom tower
You see that
is
bot
under
lane again,
attack.
John? Jackie's there, forcing in the T2 tower. Polaris
Radiant's
Esports, they're going
middle
to
tower
be
is
getting
under
very
attack.
tired of this. They aren't even going to respond this time. They're just going to stay around the Radiant Triangle and hope for the Roshan to spawn up, which it is coming in 15 seconds.
Yeah, not too much more time left for Polaris. That's going to be a big one to enable the high ground, especially with that Dusa. So they've got a lot of options going forward once they take that Roche. Boom has to be aware that's going to be the next big play to get a quick scan off right as Roche respawns, but not as it's being taken. Do spot it out though. So both sides are aware. Issue now is how far is Boom willing to go? They've got to commit for this one.
How fast can they get there though, John? They're still running through the top lane, but it's just way too slow. Tims is getting close now. You've got no choice. You've got to rush in if you want to try and contest this, or it's just gone, and it is. They don't have the time. In fact, Lelouch, he knows Tims is there somewhere. Still trying to find him. Oh, what an Aether Remnant. Mid-jump, it latches on to Tims on that Monkey King, and they find him.
Yeah, it's getting a bit dicey for Boom. I mean, even the fact that Roche gave them a free Ags up on Natsumi. So you've got the Stone Form coming through with a Mystic Snake. It makes it a lot tougher to engage. You've got to really time your BKB use time where you go very well. Jackie's just split pushing, but he might lose Skem in the process.
Yeah, they're going to try and aim down Skem, but the relocate was there immediately. In fact, it was actually the relocate coming back ways. Natsumi now. Going to avoid the EMP and Tornado. Keep in mind, they are without Lelouch at this top lane, but it just doesn't seem like they're afraid. He'll have his TP up in 1 second anyway. And Natsumi just desperately wanting to get this tier 3 tower does pick it up. It doesn't seem like they're ready to really try and force the racks though. Even with the Aegis, they're just maybe lacking a bit of confidence here. Just paying respect here to Boom. Here with a massive net worth advantage, but never mind, Lelouch, he does not mind. We'll try onto Yopaj, and he does get the BKB forced.
Radiant's top
They do get the range racks. Natsumi just constantly frontlining, not allowing Boom any way to get into the back to find these supports. And so they'll be satisfied with that range racks for now.
Yep. And they're just, again, slowly chipping away. No rush from Polaris. They know they've got this massive lead. They don't want to give Boom an opening. But they might have an opening soon. Really aggressive position from both sides. Polaris clumped up on mid. Boom playing the jungle while they can. They are under vision, though. So Polaris are aware, and this could lead them to committing onto that high ground.
Slowly trying to chip away at Natsumi's mana pool. Keep in mind, he's got the Swift Link up now, so even more damage to fly out. Natsumi going after that high ground, but they've got FBZ. A nice swap in from Mavis onto the Viper. In the meantime, towards the right side, who else were they chasing? No more. Well, Jackie will drop the call down. Natsumi has no mana left, but he still has the Aegis, and now Jackie's in trouble. They'll try to heal him up, but he's gone. He'll commit the buyback immediately, but now Tim's falls down. They've got to try and win this team fight somehow, otherwise the game is just over. They'll get the Aegis. That's one life. Jackie now popping the BKB. Is it a bit too early? It may just, as they swap him back. Jackie, he's in between a rock and a hard place, and they've got him.
Boy.
No buyback available. This game is over. 4 down without buyback, and Polaris Esports. I mean, it was a very clinical performance here, John. It may have not been flashy, but Polaris, they make no mistakes, and they pull off this game 1 victory against Boom.
They just get running. They have a good foundation built up. They manage to give Natsumi the farm and space he needs, and Lelouch plays like a madman. He hits that really early E-Blade up. He just runs around. I think the issue for Boom is they've got that Tim's Monkey King. They've got the Irelicate on hand, but after a certain point, they weren't able to really reach out on the map. They weren't really able to scout out to get that immediate rotation in, to play aggressively the way they'd want to with the Io and the Monkey. And Polaris just punished. The moment that Boom stopped being the aggressors for that combination, they just knew they had a scaling set up for them with the do so. There was so much pressure on Yopaj to kind of get that EMP tornado, and it's nearly impossible with a BKB, with the Manta and the swaps to save Natsumi, that you didn't have enough answers for to do so. And I think one factor as well, we talk about this sometimes with Boom, Mike, FBZ, when he has a slow lane, it feels like it's very hard for Boom to have that core to follow through with Yopaj. And his Viper went off to a really slow start, so it was just tough to find a way to play there.
It certainly was, John, but we'll see what Boom can get done in game number 2, at least maybe a bit of a draft switch up, as well, Polaris Esports are a strong team, John. We'll head off to a short break, and right after that break, we'll be back with our panel and game number 2 between Boom Esports and Polaris Esports.